Okay, so it's been 3 days since that shocking revelation. In essence, the SEC and Ripple told them to throw their appeals in the garbage and said, you know what, we're done here. Officially, 5 years of legal upheaval are behind us. Additionally, we have a fascinating update from Crypto Law US that is worth dissecting. Let's discuss the elephant in the room though. This fantastic chance is just in front of XRP. It's crazy how much venom has been directed towards XRP lately. Bitcoin acolytes are going crazy, and there are a lot of other people who simply cannot tolerate XRP's existence. And why? Due to the fact that they are all rushing to outrun Ripple before it's too late. The amusing thing is that Ripple isn't even making an effort to compete with these individuals. In the meantime, they're all frantically attempting to be the first to cross the finish line. It's not going well for them, spoiler alert. There's no better example than Caitlin Long. She's there with Custodia Bank, attempting to win the game of digital asset banking. It's a completely different strategy as Ripple's, yet she's working for the same objective. The issue is that Ripple is already miles ahead of her, and she is just spinning her wheels. The worst part is that she is furious that Ripple also put their hat in the ring for a license. In fact, that drama will be discussed later in this film. The most absurd aspect of all of this, though, is that after everything that has happened, people are still disparaging XRP and Ripple. Folks, we're talking 5 years later. Let's take a quick look back. Do you recall the initial announcement of this entire mess? Man, everybody and their mother was disparaging Ripple and dumping on XRP. When the lawsuit was dropped, people were actually popping champagne. Vitalik Buterin even celebrated the SEC's pursuit of Ripple. Do you think that's possible? The amount of change is astounding. What's really bothering me though is this. All of this poisonous animosity towards XRP and Ripple is still present. Like really? Why are people still behaving this way after we've come this far? Why we can't all stand back and enjoy what just transpired here is beyond me. The SEC was just outplayed by a large corporation. One of the most spectacular court battles in cryptocurrency history was recently won by XRP, a digital currency that ought to be freely accessible for everyone to purchase, sell, and exchange. Folks, this was no ordinary court case. This was the beginning of a war that would be discussed for years or even decades to come. We are indeed experiencing a time that will eventually be documented in textbooks. I'm just baffled by this situation. Why don't we all view this as a huge victory for the cryptocurrency sector as a whole? Because this is what no one wants to acknowledge. Ripple was fighting for more than just themselves as they squared off against the SEC. They were defending us all, and everyone in our area benefits from those successes. Who wants to give them credit though? No. Speaking of victories, our document library recently received another significant piece of news. Ripple's bad actor disqualification was just waived by the SEC. Here's the thing. Following the Torah ruling, the SEC vigorously contested this. They are essentially rolling over now and declaring, okay fine, you win. The wins simply keep piling up. In case you're wondering what this really means, Johnny Deaton provided an excellent explanation. In private markets, Ripple can continue to raise capital. One could even compare it to pressing the reset button, as though the $125 million fine and the entire lawsuit simply disappeared. This is just what we wanted to happen. However, this is where the future of XRP becomes really intriguing. Hold on. Even though some individuals are already complaining that this will put greater pressure on XRP sales, let's take a new approach to this. Consider ROUSD as an example. Since that is now bringing in actual money for Ripple, they are no longer required to dump XRP as they once did, merely to maintain the lights. However, this is when everything starts to get completely crazy. Now that Ripple is spotless, we can return to their application for a national bank charter. And that's precisely the reason why Ripple is making people go crazy all over again. They didn't anticipate this. They assumed that this legal ordeal would never end. To be honest, I doubt that these individuals really thought the lawsuit would ever be resolved, much less that Ripple would emerge victorious. However, the case is now closed, and everyone is now rushing because to Ripple's upcoming actions. Let's go back in time to July 2nd. At that point, Ripple withdrew its application to the OCC for a national bank charter license. In the event that they succeed, we will be witnessing something that has never been seen before. Both federal and state supervision would be in place, via the Department of Financial Services in New York. For the stablecoin world, that would be equivalent to wearing a bulletproof vest composed of trust. As a result, Ripple and ROUSD would essentially soar into the sky, entirely isolated from any other significant participants in the stablecoin market. We're discussing functioning on an entirely new planet, not just slightly outperforming the competitors. And they didn't end there either. In addition to everything else, they also applied for a FedMaster account. Consider the sheer craziness of this situation. From orbit, Ripple would essentially destroy the entire competition. They would be operating under rules that are inaccessible to others. Bringing a rocket launcher to a knife fight is analogous to that. And what do you know? I'm acting as though I'm speaking. I sincerely believe that the OCC will approve of our entire endeavor. The FedMaster account application is no different. We're talking about raw USD reserves residing directly with the Fed. Once that happens, that goes beyond next level. For everyone else, that means the end of the game. Caitlin Long and her team are currently going completely crazy for precisely this reason. The writing on the wall is visible to them. The entire industry is about to be overtaken by Ripple. They are putting themselves in a position to become the digital asset bank with direct ties to the Fed, in addition to dominating the stablecoin market. To be honest, it's among the most assertive power plays in cryptocurrency that I've ever witnessed. It will soon become apparent to any stablecoin issuer attempting to compete in the US that they are no longer even in the same sport. Ripple is nearly in orbit because it just upped the bar so high. This is where it becomes quite absurd though. Take a look at this treasure from the Bitcoin maxi community. From its peak in 2018, XRP has dropped 86%. It's not likely to get better. Additionally, they are displaying this Bitcoin pair chart for XRP as if it were a smoking gun. This is where it gets funny. They were even called out on this stupidity by XRP Mickle. They won't even display the complete all-time XRP Bitcoin chart, because they are that afraid of XRP. Since they are unable to deal with the truth, they are essentially cherry-picking data. Are you curious about that truth? You would have made more money purchasing XRP than Bitcoin over the most of its existence. Yes, it does hurt, doesn't it? It's insane how much data manipulation and graphic gymnastics these individuals are doing to disparage XRP. The true problem with these Bitcoin maximalists is this: anything that can truly function at scale terrifies them to no end. They are terrified of cryptocurrency that has practical use. Because let's face it, there is absolutely no use for Bitcoin. That's the truth. Even though I know it will upset some people. Although it is technically possible to conduct transactions over the Bitcoin network, there is no reason why anyone would wish to do so. It's like choosing to ride a horse on the highway when there are Ferraris accessible when you have XRP, Hedera, or even Stellar sitting right there. The fact that people still revere Bitcoin as if it were a technological marvel astounds me. Look, I'll give credit to Bitcoin where credit is due. Everything else we have today was made possible by it. But this is where it becomes hilarious. When you challenge them to scale transactions using Bitcoin, they abruptly stop talking. Whoa, that's more than Bitcoin can manage. It's true that Bitcoin was not intended for use in creating scalable real-world applications. The most amusing thing is that they are left with nothing but that stale old store of value tale. Right now, that's all they have to say. The only reason Bitcoin is useful is that its value increases and it stores value. That's their whole strategy. And they secretly know that's the reason they're having trouble sleeping over XRP. Because they are aware that XRP still has a chance to overtake Bitcoin in the future. They are awake at night because of that potential. Take a look at XRP's performance over the past 12 months. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum are being completely destroyed by it. It makes sense why people are becoming anxious. And they ought to be concerned now that the final significant obstacle has been removed from XRP's path. XRP has the potential to be the game-changing force that we have all been waiting for. This is what